November, my favorite month. The month that Dana White finally calls me and asks, hey Jack, what fights do you want me to put on at MSG in your hometown? Gives me front row tickets, gives me the VIP treatment, every year, they come to the MSG just for me, and to Dana White, thank you so much. And although that John Jones fight fell through, I am still happy with this main event. We're going to be predicting that today, because guys, this weekend, UFC 295 is taking place. Of course, it's going to be taking place in New York City. I'm going to be there. I'm excited. Of course, I'm disappointed about the whole John Jones situation, but honestly, I'm still very excited for this main event because this is between two warriors. If you know MMA, you know that this fight is going to be crazy for as long as it lasts, if it even lasts that long, because both these guys can finish each other at any moment, and both guys are so explosive, both guys are so aggressive, and it's for a belt headlining a pay-per-view. The stakes are at an all-time high, and this fight is as even as it gets. I mean, some people are picking Alex, some people are picking Jiri. Who am I going to pick? Who do I think is going to win? How should each person approach this fight? Like always, we're going to get into it, but first I want to remind you guys to the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're trying to hit 20K by the end of the year. You guys are the best fan base in MMA, so you guys are gonna help me with that goal. And there's a problem with yesterday's video with Sean O'Malley talking about the new announcements of the new pay-per-views between UFC 297, UFC 298, and UFC 299. A lot of errors from YouTube, so if you guys missed the video, it might not have shown up in your recommended. I'll put it in the corner of the screen. Make sure to check it out because I talk about all those fights and I talk about my predictions for each. But in this video, we're gonna concentrate on one fight, and that is the fight between Alex Pereira and Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka obviously has not fought in a long time. Right now, it's been over a year. He last beat Glover Teixeira to become the UFC light heavyweight champion, but was forced to vacate it, or not really forced, but he just chose to vacate it to give Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz a chance at fighting. But yeah, Jiri Prochazka vacated the title. He injured his shoulder just a couple weeks before he was supposed to fight Glover Teixeira in a rematch, and since then a lot has happened. Alex Pereira around that time didn't even fight Sean Strickland, but after that he knocked out Sean Strickland, beat Israel Adesanya, and then lost to Adesanya, moved up in weight and beat Jan Blachowicz by a very close decision. And we knew what was next for him. We knew that somehow he was going to have to fight for the light heavyweight title, and Jamal Hill, of course, beat Jamal Hill in January, but also had to vacate the title because of his injury. So now we have a vacant title, Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. Both of these guys are definitely up there for some of the best strikers in the UFC right now. I mean, Alex Pereira is so technical, so powerful, and he sets up traps so good, while Jiri Prochazka is an absolute explosive machine, throwing flying knees, throwing spinning elbows. The guy has so many weapons in his arsenal, and it makes him so unpredictable. I mean, if you look how he fights, he fights so weird, but it just works. It gets results, so you can't complain. The guy's undefeated in the UFC, and it's crazy to think that Alex Pereira has actually had more UFC fights than Jiri Prochazka, and more title fights than Jiri Prochazka. And yeah, I'm excited for the main event. I'm gonna get into predicting it, and before I do that, of course, as always, I'm gonna say, what is the best method of victory? Like, how should these guys approach the fight? What should their game plans be? Let's start with Jiri Prochazka. So Jiri obviously is returning. This is kind of like his first title defense a little bit, even though he vacated the title. He is getting treated like the champion going to this fight. He's getting pay-per-view points, and he deserves it, right? Because he did beat Alex Pereira's coach, which is another storyline going on that a lot of people are not talking about. And honestly, Glover Teixeira did really well against Jiri Prochazka and almost beat him in their fight. If Jiri didn't get that submission at the end of the fight, he would have lost. And what do I think that Jiri should do in this fight? Well, I think pressure is going to be very important from Jiri. I want to see the Jiri that fought Dominic Reyes, that was pressing him against the fence, throwing feints, throwing big shots, trying to get Dominic Reyes to back up and cover up. We need to see that from Jiri Prochazka. Of course, that is dangerous, and we're going to get into that when we talk about Alex Pereira, but it is a little bit dangerous because Jiri Prochazka does leave himself a little bit open, but he's got to be a little technical about it. Technical pressure. Don't just go in there, trying to just swing in the pocket. Use feint, use weapons that Alex Pereira doesn't see a lot. Now, why am I saying that Jiri should pressure? Well, I think Alex Pereira, one of his biggest holes in his game is his defense. I said this before he fought Adesanya the second time. I said his defense definitely needs some work because his main defense is going backwards, right? When you're a pressure fighter like Alex Pereira sometimes is, that can be useful, right? Because it kind of works for Sean Strickland too, where Sean Strickland has some sort of defensive gaps, but because he's always going forward, a lot of those gaps are covered up by his pressure. And if you push Alex against the fence and you're throwing shots at him and he's trying to back up, one of those is going to land. And Alex Pereira is a guy that underratedly gets hit a lot. Like, a lot of people have been talking about Jiri getting hit a lot, which Jiri does get hit a lot more than Alex. Alex still gets hit a decent amount. He got tagged in both Adesanya fights. Jan Blachowicz was landing some good shots on him. Bruno Silva was landing some good shots on him too in their fight. Last thing, I'm going to say this for both of them. Obviously this is a striker for striker matchup, but it doesn't say anywhere that none of these guys could shoot for takedowns. I think, shooting for takedowns, just adding that layer to the fight and mixing it up and adding that threat could be very important for each guy, especially a guy like Jiri, which I think he looks a lot bigger, a lot stronger than Alex Pereira, where Alex Pereira is tall, but he is a skinny guy, right? And we don't really know how strong he is in those grappling positions, although he did clear a lot up in that Jan Blachowicz fight, where I was very impressed by his defensive grappling. And I don't think we're going to see Jiri Prochazka be able to control Alex Pereira, but I do think that we might be able to see him get a takedown on surprise and see Alex Pereira get up, and if that's a close round, that takedown might make the difference. Because look, if you're landing a takedown and you get that takedown, even if the person is getting up right away, that's taking up at least 40 seconds of the fight, right? Between the takedown, between getting back up, between getting to a hit, between separating from the clinch, like all that is going to take some time. And in close rounds, that could make a difference, and we've seen it in the past. And Alex Pereira too, and we saw Alex Pereira, you know, shoot for takedowns against Adesanya in their first fight at MSG. So we know that Alex Pereira isn't beyond, you know, shooting for takedowns and going for surprises. But what does Alex Pereira have to do? I think footwork is going to be the key, and he does have some good footwork. There's a lot of times where people are pressuring him and he circles out against the cage, specifically in his fight against Sean Strickland. I mean, his footwork in that fight was phenomenal, and then setting up the left hook. He took full advantage of Strickland's problems, and I think really helped Strickland when they started training together. And I think Alex, a benefit for him is, like I said, Jiri does get hit a lot. I mean, if you look at the Volkan Oezdemir fight, I mean, Jiri was hurt multiple times in that fight, and even in the Dominic Reyes fight, he was hurt. And Glover Teixeira almost got him out of there in that 5th round. And I would argue that Alex is more accurate than any of those guys on the feet. Maybe besides Oezdemir, maybe you can make an argument for him because he is very good on the feet too. But I would still argue that Alex Pereira is more accurate than all of those guys. I'm not going to say more powerful because all these guys are big and they all probably hit hard. But Alex Pereira does hit really hard. We've seen him get knockouts up and down weight classes in kickboxing. And I think Alex has to stay composed here. You can't, you know, bite on the feints of Jiri Prochazka backing up. I just don't also like in this matchup for Alex Pereira how he has his hands down all the time. Like, I feel like Alex Pereira, you know, he might feint a lot. Alex might get used to it and then boom, might eat a punch. But both guys are very similar and different in a way because I could also see a similar thing happening to Jiri, but maybe Jiri just gets reckless, gets on the inside, and then maybe Alex lands a counter. There's so many possibilities to how this fight is going to go, and it's really hard to predict if I'm going to be honest. But how do I see this fight going? Who do I think is going to win, guys? My official prediction is going to be, I don't know, I'm kind of second guessing myself a little bit. I don't know, I'm in between the two, but I think I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. I think if we're actually talking about who's the better pure technical fighter, like scratch that. Like imagine, you know, nobody could get knocked down in this matchup. I think that Jiri would probably be able to win just because I think he'd be able to land a lot more shots because of his forward pressure, and I think he's going to be able to trap Pereira. However, it's just when you look at his fights, he gets hit so often, and like I said, Alex Pereira is definitely one of the more accurate guys that he's faced. Another thing is, I did mention in my breakdown, I said Jiri has to do some things to Alex that he has never seen before. Well, Alex is a guy that comes from kickboxing, from MMA, that has competed across multiple combat sports and had so many fights that it's just going to be hard to throw something that he is not going to be able to see coming unless you just have your hands covered against the fence and throw a big overhand. But outside of that, I think if Alex Pereira just, you know, manages the distance, uses good footwork, and manages to slip on the outside and keeps out on the open, I think we're going to see him tag Jiri Prochazka. How do I see the fight going? That's a different question though. I think the first round is going to be absolutely hectic. I think we're going to see both guys get tagged, both guys get hurt. I think we're going to see Jiri get dropped. I think we're going to see Alex Pereira maybe hurt. I don't think we'll see him get dropped. Other than the Oezdemir fight, you know, we don't really see Jiri having power in his hands. Like, you know, when he knocked out Reyes, right? It was with an elbow and he threw knees against Glover that really had him hurt. We don't really see him get knockdowns with his hands. And I think the style that Alex has, I think the type of weapons that Jiri usually uses, I think he'll be able to get out of the way of those. And I think after a crazy first round, I think we're going to see Jiri, you know, be aggressive. And I think we're going to see Alex Pereira counter him with a left hook. And I don't know if we're going to see Jiri Prochazka go out cold, but I think it'll be maybe a TKO type of situation, maybe even out cold. And yeah, my prediction is early in round 1, maybe a minute or 2 into the fight, we're going to see Alex Pereira get the win and knock out Jiri Prochazka. Now, like I said, there is a lot of other factors. Can Jiri, you know, maybe catch Alex Pereira? What kind of Jiri are we going to see? Because Jiri, outside of the Dominic Reyes fight, isn't exactly the most pressured fighter. Like in the Volkan Oezdemir fight, he kind of was in the center, and so was he in the Glover Teixeira fight. But to me, I feel like the Volkan Oezdemir fight, I feel like that is a similar matchup to Alex Pereira. Power in both hands, a good kickboxer, and we saw him have a lot of success and almost finish Jiri in the first round. Well, maybe not almost finish, maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but he hurt him bad, and I just think that that is very similar to Alex Pereira. I think that's a very similar matchup, and I think we're going to see Alex Pereira get the finish in that second round. But who knows what's going to happen, guys. I'm going to be dropping the Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich video coming out very, very soon, so tune in for that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you guys know when that comes out. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. I cannot wait for Saturday. I could not have asked for a better fan base, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.